My name's Tyler Jones. I'm the head brewer and brewery manager at Broken Tooth Brewing in Anchorage, Alaska. And I remember during the peak at 96, there were 8 breweries in Anchorage. In Alaska, there were a handful more. Homer down in Homer, Alaskan and Juneau, Silver Gulch and Fairbanks, and not many more than that, period. Now there's over 40 in the state, and in town I haven't counted in my head lately, but it's over a dozen easily. Well, one of the things that make us unique is the Moose's Tooth. We're the brewery for the Moose's Tooth Pub and Pizzeria and the Bear Tooth Theatrepub and Grill. Yeah, the Moose's Tooth in particular is an amazing specimen. They got, a few years ago, they got third best pizza place on TripAdvisor. It's said that they're the single busiest independently owned pizza restaurant in the country. You know, and both of those things taken together are kind of crazy when you think about Anchorage, Alaska. It's, you know, like you might think Chicago or New York, but Anchorage, Alaska, okay. It's not unheard of to wait for an hour or two for a pizza. Yeah, so that's what makes us unique. Another way we're unique is we are the only brew pub in Alaska that is not co-located to the restaurant. So you can look it up in the statute, and you'll find our carve out. So that makes us, you know, that allows us to, number one, self-distribute to our restaurant, so helps us with the bottom line. We're also allowed to by the state distribute a certain amount of our beer, which we do every year, to the drop, because we don't know what the demand is out there for our stuff. So that part is, you know, a little frustrating, but the laws have changed. They just have not gone into effect yet. Right now we're at about 3,500 barrels a year. We were higher before. I think our highest production year was close to 6,000 barrels. And so I mentioned that renovation they did at the Moose's Tooth in 2012. One of the things that they did was they completely redid the entire draft system over there, so they waste less beer. So that means we sell less beer to them, which, you know, I'm not gonna cry over that, but our production went down after they were more efficient. The new draft system has 32 faucets, 32 tap lines, you know, and so a few of those are sodas that we make. Some of those are doubled up, so 2 Fairweather IPAs, 2 hard apple ales, and so on. And so what that means is we have about a dozen beers that are always on full-time, 24/7, 365. The other, let's say, dozen we get to do whatever we want with. And so we have a dozen different rotating beers on at any one time. So variety is the spice of life for me. I like IPAs, I like Belgians, I like stouts, I like this 1% beer that I'm working on. I like all these things. As far as bestseller, Fairweather IPA, hands down, pays the bills. It's not even close. Second and third to that is our hard apple ale and our raspberry wheat. A lot of that, I think, has to do with we're the ones that are producing those kinds of beers. A lot of other places in town don't produce those kinds of beers, but there are plenty of restaurants out there that want that type of beer. You go into any tap room and you're going to see everybody's going to have an IPA. Most people are going to have a lager on. Then it's going to be like, what's their particular gestalt? Like, you know, some people, you know, want to have a porter and a stout on all the time. Some people are focused on ambers, you know, like it really just kind of depends. Definitely a lot of people are on a sour train of some sort. You know, it all kind of depends on who they are and what their techniques are as far as how they produce it. The milkshake stuff, you see that stuff every once in a while. Yeah, I mean, the Anchorage beer scene, a couple of sentences to me is, I don't really know anymore. I'm too busy. It's definitely growing. There's a new brewery that that just opened up. I mean, it opened up before summertime. Well, actually, there's 2 breweries that opened up before summertime, and I still have not made it to either one of them. And there's 2 other breweries that I can think of off the top of my head that opened within the past 2 years, and I've still not made it to them. I don't know how many more breweries we can support in Anchorage itself, but we have a lot of variety. If you want to have a lager listen to the Grateful Dead, you can find a brewery that'll do that. If you want to, there's a brewery out in Eagle River north of Anchorage that is a hockey theme. We have a very, very cyclical year. It is rocking in the summertime, and then the wintertime it really calms down. And we see that in particular for us because of the restaurants. In our limited distribution, we might not, if we were selling beer to Washington or Idaho, we might not see that drop off as much, but since we don't, then we have a very, very tall peak in the summertime and nice dip in the wintertime. Come to Alaska, it's lovely. Doesn't matter what time of year. Fall is our best kept secret. Shh.